Well, y'all already know how this work. If it happens in privacies and it never become publications, I won't ever have nothing to say about it. Sometimes it come in publications and I still don't have nothing to say about it because there ain't no good conversation that we can have as a community about it. It has to be good kitchen table talk. That's it. That's all they're saying. Screenshot. Let's go on by the show. I ain't gonna stay here long tonight. I wanna be. That's right. You're locked into Larry Reid Live once again this week. We normally only come on Mondays at 7 p.m. And you need to make sure that you know whenever we go live, because I have a feeling while we're doing this quarantine that we're probably going to be going live quite a bit. So it is extremely important that you are following Larry Reid Live. How can I do that? How can I know what's going on and when you're going to be live? Text right now, Larry Reid Live with no spaces to 33222. If you do that, then I always text you before I go live. And if you're in Patreon, you actually get the behind the scene as like the brainchild of the show. And so you're over there, you donate every single month, then you're going to always be in the know of what is going on. And also there's some things that will be coming up for Patreon members really soon. Me and my mentor exclusively answering your questions. That's right, Bernard Jordan. And some other close friends are going to be doing the same thing with my Patreon through Zoom. I'll tell you more about it over there. All right. I need for you to hit like right now and to share it every darn body, because we're not going to be up here long, I don't think, maybe 40 minutes, because I'm live tonight because I want to talk about one thing. Something happened on today. Now, the day started out really good. It's a great day. We woke up and I saw where Bishop Charles E. Blake, for those of you that do not know, this is the HNIC of the Kojic churches that's all over the world, strode around every darn where. So he's the one that basically represents the Kojic church right now. Now, if you're watching me, you probably only know about Gilbert Earl Patterson, because he was the one that was all over the TV many years ago, and he was the HNIC of the Kojic church at the time. But this is the new HNIC of the Kojic church, although we still believe in our hearts of hearts that Gilbert Earl Patterson and Mason has been the only two presiding prelates of this here organization, because they sort of had such worldwide acclaim. But anyway, I don't want to get off talking around and just run off at the mouth and I get off on stuff. So let me get back to the darn topic. So I woke up this morning. This is the first thing that I saw. This man of God has made a decision to tell all of the Kojic churches, every last one of y'all, because there's a whole bunch of y'all. That's why I say all of the Kojic churches, because there's a bunch of you. He said all the stuff we got planned for the rest of the year, ain't none of it going down. Nope, it's not happening. I ain't letting y'all do any of these big old meetings that we supposed to be doing. I know I normally do this every single year. And last year I did it. Year before last I done it. But not this here coming year. It is not going to happen. So as a result, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to announce to you that there will be a whole lot of same-sex activities that will not be happening on this year because the prides have been canceled. I'm just playing. Never mind. There are a whole lot of church services, social gatherings that normally happen in the Kojic church. And the reality is, I was in the apostolic organization. It was fun. Whenever we had convocation, it was always fun. Yes, there were some sex activities that were happening, and some of the same sex activities that was happening as well. Ping tip to ping tip. But it was great to see mother this, mother that, and hug. Come here, baby. Kiss you right in the middle of your Ford, and she's smelling like white diamonds and peppermint. So it's a social type of thing that goes on there, where he said, I don't even care The Cora is out and wreaking havoc, and folk is dying that ain't never died before. There's a picture I email you. I want you to drop it in here. I want that needs to go with this topic. Go quick. I just check it. You see, move fast. I I think. Will you quit talking to me and just do what I'm trying to hurry up and not be up here all the day long. I emailed you earlier, late a few minutes ago. So he said the Cora has done came out here and done cut up. I didn't say that. Well, hold on for a minute, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, you're right, Nancy. I didn't. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for talking. Well, you know I talk slick. I ain't got to apologize. I'm just talking. Okay, do this right quick. Put it in there. This is one of the reasons why I think he decided to do it. But the announcement that he made was, I'm so sorry y'all would like to come over here and do all this stuff that we normally do all the rest of the year, but I will not be doing it. Is this the year that they supposed to let? Wait a minute, that just came in my mind. So how are they going to do that? I wonder if they're going to be voting online. Somebody in the chat tell me, if you are Koja, ain't y'all supposed to be deciding who's going to be the new person? That's going to be over the new HNIC over the whole church. Is that the truth? Y'all got to tell me. I'm looking in the comments. I know there's a little delay. So y'all tell me if that's the truth or not. But I think it is. Yep, they say it is. Okay, so because I know it usually aligns with the same time we choose for a president. I think one of the main things that made him make this decision because one of his jurisdictions had a whole leap of death that happened to it. A whole lot of leaders have been it's as if, now all of these leaders, if I'm not mistaken, one or two of them died of natural causes as far as we know. But I think quite a few of these were COVID cases. On top of that, there are other cases. All of these men deceased, but there are a whole leap of cases from a funeral and a meeting, a workers' meeting that was held, and as a result, a whole lot of people got sick, and some people are still on ICU. The ventilator is breathing for them because COVID has got hold of them. So I think, and a lot of the Koja people are of age, especially the leadership. A lot of them are really of age. You know, the disease ain't that nice to the older people. So he made a decision, said we are not having it. So my day started really good because that was good news. Because I know you may not understand, but I love the church and I love everything about the church. I grew up in the church. You say, well, if you love the church, why you don't have no problem talking about them? Because I don't have no problem talking about anything. And I come out of church, so I know it pretty good. And I always wait until it's public. Now, you might go to somebody else and have them talking about the church and stuff that happened in folk text messages and emails and in privacies. That won't be Larry Reid. I'm not doing that. But if it get out and I feel like it's a conversation we need to have, then I'm going to have the conversation. Thank you, Griff Man, for that super chat. I am going to have the conversation. I'm not scared to talk about anything. Y'all have seen people trying to get me scared and try to really do all sorts of things to me, and I still talk. So, I ain't scared to talk about anything. So this was a great start to my day. Then next thing I heard was from my governor. I'm here in Atlanta, Georgia. And this was pretty good to hear as well. So my day is going well. Let me tell you what he said. So he came out. Well, I'm going to tell you what I think. He came up out his mouth and said, Lord have mercy, Jesus, COVID is cutting up. Now, mind you, ladies and gentlemen, this is April the 2nd. It's as if he woke up with a revelation. This is what he said. Oh my God, I can't believe that you can be asymptomatic, meaning no coughing, no sneezing, no body ache, no fever, and pass it and spread it. I've been telling y'all since Jesus was a baby and little Richard was a little girl. Round about February, end of February, beginning of March, we talked about asymptomatic. We talked about wearing masks. I told y'all it was airborne. Before these lying talking heads on these CNN, Fox, or wherever they was, before they told you that it was. Now, they all coming out with it, especially over the last 2 days. But if you are LRL, you already know because I had done told you so. I had already done told you. Anyway, so he came out, and this is what he said. He did not know that asymptomatic people could pass COVID-19 to other people. And he was entirely shocked. Now, they have been dragging him from A to Z all over major networks saying they can't understand this. But let me tell y'all something, man. Don't let this end up being you. A lot of us, we only watch, eat, do what we have an appetite for or an affinity for. I personally like to practice thinking beyond, sometimes doing things and sometimes tasting things and reading and exploring things that are beyond my belief system, far beyond what it is that I normally would have an affinity to, just because I just like to know some things. Thank you so much, R.S. Wilson, for that super chat. So I think it's a great practice for all of us, if we want to excel in whatever industry it is, to get familiar with what is unfamiliar to you. And a lot of times when it comes to people in leadership positions, the people right around them tend to be in their world and not in another world. So I think it's very possible, because a lot of people think you're lying, that Brian Kemp did not know that COVID-19 could spread. Now, if you think about his spiritual father, his bishop, his presiding prelate is Presbyterian, the president, businessman, and entertainer, Donald Trumpet. And with that being said, remember now, he kept saying that it was a hoax of the Democratic Party. He kept saying, that it was going to be controlled, or it's not going to make it over here. But CDC and the WHO were like, it's not a matter if it's going to make it, when it make it, it's going to be a whole mess. So I think, like most Americans, they were listening to what Trump said and how Trump said what he said. And even now, I've seen some videos in the past week where people talking about, oh, it's not that big, or this is a trick, and people not really dying because they ain't had nobody to die near them. Now, that's all going to change in this here month of the April. That's going to all change. You're probably going to know somebody that has it or either has died from it. And I think this is going to cause a shifting in the way that everybody's going to start doing what they're doing. So when Brian Kemp came out and said that he had not heard about it, people dragged him, but then he did this as a result of what he heard. He done the stay in home. I think it's called a stay in plane or stay in place. He put that into place here. Now there are about 12 or 13, 14 other states that have done the same thing. And these are our biggest states here in America. So north 90 or more % of Americans are now in the house up under quarantine. Now, this should have happened 2 months ago, so they wouldn't have all these people dying and all these people sick. And now a lot of people are going to die because there are not ventilators for these people to get on when COVID grab hold of the lungs and they can't breathe for themselves. You know what? If you get into the place where you got to put 5 liters of oxygen in somebody, first of all, you're going to have to induce a coma and put them on the ventilator because it's a whole lot of oxygen they're putting in. You can't do that without the machine. Everybody who's on the ventilator right now has to be, or they're dead. So with that being said, if I can remember correctly, there are about 120,000 ventilators that is in operation right now. I think it's 120,000 or more. So all of those people will be dead if we didn't have it. And this is the thing. We get our ventilators from the China and from the Russia. And we already shut down our borders because of all the stuff that's going on. That means we are 100% reliant on them giving us equipment that work and equipment that is not contaminated. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've been following me since 2011, you know I have a problem with this because of what I was told in the vision as it relates to them. But it is what it is. What I'm trying to do is not get sick, not contaminate anybody in my house, not myself. And if somebody do get sick, then I know how to take the word of God and faith like a pill and begin to walk in the spirit and rebuke the devil and the enemy. Curse Cora, and I'll go to the doctor if I need to go to the doctor. But if I get there, if something go wrong, they can't put me on no ventilator. Right now, either you got to believe in Jesus, have some kind of faith and have a higher power faith or something, or you're going to be fidgety, scared, pinned, and duking just a little on yourself because of what Cora is doing in this land. You run into some panic and you will run into some fear. They folk jumping out of buildings and committing suicide because Cora got everybody caught all the way up. This is a good time for you to shut up in your house, get hold of your biblications, open that paper Bible. I'm talking about the paper Bible, not this one y'all read up here from y'all computers and y'all iPads, y'all fancy preachers. You've been watching them preachers preach fancy like that, and you think you can do like that, and you ain't got no foundation. Touch and turn the word of the Lord and get you a paper Bible. It's a good time for you to get hold of something, because if that thing come up in your house, you're going to need something to fight with. And the way that, you see that what I shared on my page, how that nurse say they're breathing without the ventilator. And it's not funny. It is horrible. And I saw some of it, the children gasping. I couldn't even take all of that. So I'm so glad that Brian Kemp decided to go ahead and tell this lie that he had not heard nothing about it. Let me tell you what's wrong with these people. Just like the Presbyterian all the way down at state level and locally, a lot of these folk, if you can trust anybody, you probably can trust your local mayor, because everybody's dealing with different bank. But the states, see, stuff happen. It's executed locally, managed at state level, financed at the federal level. What ends up happening is the state and the federal level. If there's corruption, you're going to see it there. If there's a good boy system or a goody boy system, you're going to see it there. If politics are being played, you're going to see it right there. When it comes to your local government and you voting, I think it's every 2 years you do the voting, it's really important for you to vote. And this normally happens across America. We vote for the people that we know they're proper from the community, and we know their family or something. And these folks typically do right. Keisha Bottoms, right here in Atlanta, the mayor, she had already shut stuff down weeks ago, and Brian Kemp sitting over there looking funny. And I told you he was on that phone line with all them pastors talking about, I'm never going to do anything to make it to where the churches cannot worship. And then I think was later on, he shut down the bars later on. And then now, of course, he's doing the stay in home. Now, this is the thing with the stay in home. The stay in home that he has put into place, he's actually employing the National Guard and the police and parts of the military to enforce this. If you are going anywhere except to the store to get you something to eat, going to go pick up some medicine, you're supposed to stay up in the house and you're not supposed to go anywhere. Only essential people and the non-essentials that want to maintain some level of value. This is what Kemp said. Kemp said, okay, well, if you're going to do that, then you need to be checking them at the door for a temperature. Now, y'all need to go ahead and tell J Maul over there at the New Birth Durations that if he's going to do like he's been doing the last few Sundays, copying what Jake's been doing, Jake's be there with his staff and a couple musicians and do everything, that they are supposed to get the temperature checked right there at the door to make sure that they ain't got no fever and to make sure they ain't got no sniffles and no cough. This is what he said. He said, and if I drop somebody by there and y'all not doing that, I'm going to act the whole fool through the military and through the police people, because I done told y'all the National Guard has been anointed by God to do what I tell them to do in this hour. And if you want to go in there and praise God and you're not doing right, then I'm going to get you. Now, see, it's a little vague. And probably he's not going to do like Florida did. Florida Mayor DeSantis, whatever his name, I can't think of his name. But, it took him forever and 10 days for him to begin to shut down the beaches and do something all across the state. He just done it on yesterday. Is there something wrong with the same? Let me tell you, that family called the Stupids. Now, I told y'all this on the show. There's a family, a big family, there are a bunch of members. And the members of that family is growing every day. Their last name is Stupid. The family, the Stupids. These people, everywhere you go, you see some of that, and they got all different colors and shapes and sizes. And I guess in Florida and in Georgia, these two governors, members of that family somehow or another. Because how in the whole hell and the heaven is you gonna not know to send all them folk out there on that beach or running up and down? There was on Georgia beaches and Florida beaches all the way up until this week here, and y'all just now shutting the stuff down. Okay, what you say now?
Maybe the governors were on the beach themselves.
They can stand to be on the beach, because it needs the tan. But the thing is this here, that they should have shut down stuff for now. The Stupids, they're everywhere. You send them everywhere. Some of them pastoring. Some of them run to these churches. And that's really going to get into what I want to talk about tonight, because he didn't make the language very clear. But I'm telling you what the Florida man did. You may feel very good about it. I'm not sure about it. He said, Everybody stay at home except y'all can have church then. But we done heard from the master prophet. The master prophet done told us you ain't watched March the 6th video and the video from this past Monday. You are missing out on the treat. Go back and watch and find out what in the world you're supposed to be doing, what God is saying now. He said this is going to happen and it's going to raise up a revolution, like a church revivalist that's going to say we're going to do church anyway, and they're going to be carted off to jail, and we're saying this, the charges are happening. Because this is what Kemp said. Kemp said you ain't doing what you're supposed to do, that you will be fined. They said, and he's giving them an order that first try to talk to the people, whatever, then don't do right, arrest them, fine them. That's what he said. But Florida said, if y'all want to run out there to the church and hallelujah, thank you, Jesus. All of them, hallelujah and thank you, Jesus, are the most spittle producing words you can say in church, especially in the black church. Thank you, Jesus. Hallelujah. That is going everywhere in them droplets. In fact, I just got some on my arm right here as I sit it right here. And we done found out that just breathing and talking, you can end up getting it. So if you going to go to church, you need to wear a mask. Wear a mask if you're going to go, and stay 6 to 10 feet away from everybody. Do not sit on the front row, called Pastor Spit. Every black pastor spit when they talk. You don't go shake no hands or nothing. Go in there and get right on out of there. So he ain't put that out there like that, like the Florida man did, but he might end up doing that, because when he called for all the pastors in Georgia to be on the line, it froze the line up. I mean, because the religious sector in the South really put these people where they want to be. So I heard what Bishop Blake said, and I heard what he said he finally put a stay in place. I said, well, it sounds like these folk getting some common sense. Then I started hearing from members of different pastors' church. Put the preachers up here. Now, I ain't saying it's any of these preachers, but they just symbolizing this conversation. We have this picture here when I'm talking about them. I'm going to tell you why. Because Morton said, because he's here in Atlanta, he was on that phone call before last with the preachers, and he was like, quit bothering Kemp, but now I don't think he having church no more. T.D. Jakes is up there because T.D. Jakes was saying from the get up, we're going to obey what the government say and what God say. So he been doing it in a certain kind of way. Karn was the one said, I'm not of this government. I come from the kingdom of God, and I'm going to do what God tell me to do, and I'm walking in faith. I happen to have an opportunity to talk to Karn, so I really understand his mindset as relates to this. I'm not saying I agree with it, but this is what he is saying. He said, I'm a man of faith. And because I am a man of faith, I am going to believe God for the supernatural. And he began to refer to John G. Lake. I think that's his name. During the time of the bubonic plague, he was having these meetings, laying hands on people, and people that had the virus were getting healed. And they said that they put the virus in his hand under a microscope, and the virus died when it touched his hand. So he's in this world of miracles and faith and the prophetic and old school moving in the Holy Ghost stuff. And y'all know that is in keeping with what he preached and how he do. Fine. That's how you are. But this is the problem that I have with that. I say the same thing as it relates to Morton. Now, except for Brian Conker, he still preached that stuff. But most preachers do not preach the level of faith and the level of word, or model the level of prayer that I feel that you need to be at if you're going to start taking on demon spirits and Korah. I don't think folk is living at that level, and they don't have no experiences with God of seeing people raised from the dead. They ain't got no experience with God where they seen limbs grow back. They ain't got no experience with God where they seen folk that crawl the ceiling with demons and seen a man of God cast the spirit out and these folk get their right mind. They ain't seen God sober up a drunk man with the word of prophecy. They ain't seen the powers of God move like that. God speak to a man and tell him your innermost thoughts and where you come from and where you're going. Most folk ain't had that experience on a personal level. They watch the performers do it, but they have not. Remember, they're just symbolizing preachers right here. They watch the performers do it, and they go pack out the church and give their money to the folk that do it, but they themselves don't walk at that level. This is a problem. It's almost like sheep led to the slaughter. But this is what Bishop Jordan said was going to happen, because prophecy has to come to pass. Now, this is very interesting to me, because y'all know that most people that sit in them pew ain't walking with God. They come into church and they're like, church. And we've trained them to come, y'all have trained them to come to church, give their money, shout, praise God, and be addicted and committed to the opium, to the hallucinogen that you are putting out through the spell that you're casting over the pulpit with the sound of the organ and the singing every single Sunday. And they themselves ain't got no paper Bible. Not paper Bible saved, not the least bit. So this is the whole problem. So I started getting email from members, and this here is going to tick you off. It might not. Thank you so much for the super chat over. I don't know why my Octavia Clay. Lord, I'm about to say, if that Octavia Lane, that's a whole nother conversation. Lord have mercy. Okay, y'all make sure y'all like this and share, because I'm about to tell y'all something. And then I'm going to open up the lines and let y'all run your mouth. And before I tell y'all this, remember that you can always call Bishop Jordan's prayer line that's happening right now. 24 hours they up there praying, prophesying, teaching, 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 praying, prophesying, teaching. 515-604-9266. And make sure you get written judgments as well. The book that he was reading from that talked about these curfews, that talked about all of the things that are happening right now, years ago written. You can get it right now, bishopjordan.com, and download it. All right, so let me tell you what happened. So I started getting emails, and they were from funny names, like, making up names real funny. And I was able to look at it and run a little search. I said, okay, so these emails the folk done made up to email me because they want to keep the ID in privacy. And I understand. People email me all the time. If you have a story, something you want me to talk about here that I have not seen on the internet, you can email me to LarryReidLive@gmail.com. So they email LarryReidLive@gmail.com, and I'm looking at, these things, and I'm saying, okay, who is this? And so I started opening up, and this happened about 4 emails. And there's a way that I gauge whether we have a problem or a story we should do or not, and it's by the number of people talking about the same topic. And that's normally between 3 to 7. If I get, depending on the topic and what it is, if I get enough emails around a certain thing, then I'm going to discuss it. Don't y'all put no COVID-19 on me. That's a little cough because the pollen count up here is in the 3,000s and I have horrible allergies. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to have to tell you this story without mentioning names. The only reason why I'm going to have to tell you this story without mentioning names is because I'm going to try to tell it as detailed without any of these pastors across the United States finding out that their members have told it on them. Okay. So about a week or 2 ago, maybe 3, there were a pastor or 3 that found out they had COVID-19 from traveling. And they told only 2 people, or 3 in one case, that is a part of their staff that will suffer financially the same way that they would if they closed their churches. But this was the conversation, and I heard it. I heard the audio. So this was the conversation. The conversation was like, don't you tell nobody I'm sick. Don't you tell nobody that I've tested positive. I'm going to continue to do what I do, because I'm going to believe God. I'm just going to continue to pray, just like I do if I got a headache, just like I do if I got the flu. I'm going to do what I can, but I'm going to continue to pray and apply the word. And everybody else need to do the same thing. And at that moment, this particular members that were coming to me about it, that worked for them. And they felt the same way that they felt. Because That's faith. Come on now. If you're a Christian, we operate in faith all the time with stuff. We all the time. So this ain't no wrong concept. It's not anything wrong with believing God. But the thing that bothered me was that these pastors strategically told people that would have a vested interest in keeping their secret. Because if the money not coming in, not only does it affect the pastor, but anybody else who's in employment. So for me, that felt a little manipulative. That's number one. Now, number two, and this is what I've been saying. Number two is this. All of a sudden, this is the reason why these members reached out to me. Because now they are having the symptoms of COVID-19. And as a result, they're scared for their life. And so one of the pastors found out about it, and instead of, closing down and what have you, they said, you got to believe God. You need to fast. You need to pray. Get your faith up. God going to bring you through that. Like he bringing it through me. I'm still going. I said, now, wait a minute. And that's why they reached out to me. They said, I need you to tell everybody about this. And their question to me was this: do I do what the pastor say or not? And that's what tonight is about. And I'm going to open up these lines. Do I have to go if the pastor says I do? And they're torn and coughing. Now they got a child and a wife at the house. Now they all have to quarantine. But the pastor saying come to church. You're in leadership. You need to be here. So their question was to me, number one, they wanted me to get the word out. And they watching. All of them are watching. And I'm going to open up this line and let them hear what you guys say. And we don't have to agree here. So you can call in and say anything you want to. And they'll say, well, do I do what the pastor say or not? I said this. Where is your faith? Tell me about your faith. What kind of faith do you have? Do you have the kind of faith that says, I'm going to take the medicine and quarantine and believe God for my healing? Or do you have the kind of faith that says, I am going to do what the pastor say, and I must believe God going to bless me because I'm following the man of God? Because one of them faiths might be shakier than the other. What if your man of God ain't really a man of God? Or what if your man of God just wrong on this one, but really a man of God? But this one here, he really wrong on this one. So if your pastor is telling you to go to church on Sunday, or whenever your next service is, do you think, bring that number over, do you think that they should do what the pastor is telling them to do and God will cover them? Or should they stay quarantined, tell the pastor, okay, I'm not coming this time. I still trust you. I still believe you're still going to support. But this is how I want to handle this. Is there any room for that? I want to know what you think. I'm opening up the lines right now. All right, first caller. You got 1 minute. Caller ended in 1271. What's your name? Where you calling from? Do I have to go if the pastor says I do?
You better not go. I'm a nurse. And what we're seeing, it's really bad here. I'm from the country like you from the country. I'm from South Carolina. Mm-hmm. And what we've been seeing here as well is, like you were saying, the governor there is saying he had no idea. The mayors are trying to shut it down, And then they're saying, oh, no, the governor is the only one that has the power to shut things down here. So because of that, we're just seeing a lot of cases, and it's going to get worse before it gets better because people don't know what shelter in place is. Earlier you were saying, well, why are the numbers better in China? Because they wasn't playing with them people. They welded them into their communities and was like, well, sucks to be you right now, and made them stay there. But we're a little bit too free. We're going from place to place, and I'm seeing so many cars here from New York now where people are trying to flee the quarantine and come this way, that they're only bringing it with them when they come. And so that's bad. We don't have the equipment that we need in the hospitals. They're telling us 50 different things to do, and none of them is what we heard yesterday or the day before. If I told you the healthcare system, you would know it. But they're telling us one day we need to wear the protective equipment for these particular patients. Then the next day they're telling us only wear it for the ones that we know are positive. You see what I'm? But I'm going to be infected if I don't. So that's bad. But as far as this pastor goes, you're right. That could be, that's definitely not a man of God, in my opinion. Sound like he saved Holy Ghost filled and baptized in a bucket of bullshit. Excuse my language. And he's going to get a lot of other people sick. That happened in a church where they were having Bible study and they were checking temperatures. But what people don't realize is you can check temperatures going to bed. Everybody's not going to have a temperature. So this person over here has infected almost, I think they had 5 or 6 members in the church actually died because, and they had the 6 foot apart. They were checking temperatures, and now they've had people die in their church. So you've got to be careful who you're following.
Okay.
Well, the temperatures are not an adequate way of telling all the time.
Wow.
And some of these people are asymptomatic, and some of these people are, I'm going to die. And the other thing that the hospitals are doing is a lot of the numbers are not accurate because DHEC sometimes is the definitive. You can test positive, but until DHEC deems it, then that's not considered a positive. So there's more positives than what we actually know.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
It's going to get worse.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, let's go. Next caller. Caller ending in 6101. What's your name? Where you calling from? You got 1 minute. Do I have to go if the pastor says I do?
Hey, Larry, how you doing? I'm saying this. If a pastor is sick and they let some people know and somebody go to that church and they die, they're going to charge that pastor and they're going to jail because they are treating this like a terrorist attack. Like the lady who was spitting on the food in the grocery store, they had to throw all that stuff away. And I think the guy that was at Walmart and he was licking on this, they arrested them. If you sick and you taking this and giving it to people, not on purpose, but if you're giving this to people in your church, they are going to arrest you if you keep on looking to see what's going on. So that's all I have to say. Thank you, sir.
Wow. Thank you. All right. If you're watching LRL, hit like and share right now. Next caller. Caller ending in 8193. What's your name? Where you calling from? Do I have to go if the pastor says I do?
Hey, this is Keena calling from Jackson, Mississippi. And no, God gave us He gave us critical thinking skills. And if the pastor says, no, we're going to trust in God. Yes, I can trust in God, but I also know not to run in the burning fly into a burning house and then trust in God that I'm not going to get burned up. That's foolishness. We test God. So no, you do not need to go.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for calling.
Y'all have a good night.
Calling from Mississippi. All right. Next caller. Caller ending in 4318. What's your name? Where you calling from? The question is, do I have to go if the pastor says I do?
Debbie from Norfolk, and the answer is no.
That's it. No. You ever been told, stay home? How many languages do you need to have? Do you need somebody to tattoo it on your head? Don't go anywhere. Sit your behind down. Do we have to strap you into a chair? What is wrong with you? No, don't go. Good night.
Good night. I think Virginia's on a 70-day stay in place, shelter in place. To June, yeah. Call it ending in 3694. What's your name? Where you're calling from? You have 1 minute. The question is, do I have to go if the pastor says I do?
Mr. Larry, this is Reginald from Jacksonville.
What's up, man?
Bottom line, tell the saints, don't ever give up your ability to think for yourself.
Okay.
You can still be subject to your leader, but it's been proven that church is no immunity from this virus.
Yeah.
Because church folk are dying.
Yeah.
And you know one thing about leaders, Mr. Larry, they're so used to being in charge, so they can't be subject when it's time for them to be subject. Have you noticed that?
I have.
So tell the saints, be a free thinker. Don't let nobody make your choice for you. And that's all I got.
I hear that. We hear you, Reginald from Jackson. All right. Hadn't heard from him in a while. Call the ending in 5784. What's your name? Where you're calling from? You have 1 minute. Do I have to go if the pastor says I do?
Dr. Reid, it's simple. If your pastor has a history of healing people who's sick, I would pay for him to go to a hospital and lay hands on the people that's already there. Let's test his faith. If he can get in there and he can get people healed, he can get them out of there. They can put the virus in his hand, and he can get them on out of there. Let's go. All right, that's fine. We can have church because I know you got power over it. But if you die and they treat you like the priest and they drag you out of there, nah, fam, it ain't that. It ain't that. So let's test your faith first. Let's see where your faith at. And if your faith lasts, and if your faith can sustain the waters, then yeah, we might could do something. Other than that, nah, fam, I'm staying home. I watch Jakes. I watch Matthew Stevenson. I watch somebody, but I ain't going there.
Wow.
That's it, dog.
Thanks, man. Thanks for your input.
Yes, sir.
It's interesting hearing from a lot of dudes tonight. There's usually a ladies show when calling. All right, let's go. Call it ending in 1191. What's your name? Where you're calling from? You got 1 minute. Do I have to go if the pastor says I do? 1193.
Oh, hi, Larry. This is Lil Harding Collins.
Hi.
I'm calling from Ypsilanti, Michigan. And number one, no. That pastor is out of order. He should never tell you to do anything that's against the government. And the government says you stay at home, you isolate yourself. Number two, if his faith is so great, why is he worried about the salary? Trust God to pay your bills. And number three, he's selfish. He does not have the heart of a shepherd. A shepherd risk his life for the sheep. Why would you bring this man out here to kill off all these people on the guise of having faith? He is a fake, and he needs to be sent to prison if he does that.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, now that caller just hit me with something. That is so true. As a shepherd, you would give your life for the sheep. You would do anything to make it better for them, even if it's stupid. Now that I'm thinking about it, the space that I was in pastoring those 20 years, I would do whatever I needed to do to make sure that they are safe. That's not the same. That's not the space that this is coming out of. Maybe this is someone pastoring that may be a prophet, that may be a miracle worker, traveling evangelist, but a pastor, no. You have to pastor, and a pastor take care of the sheep, and you don't want to see nobody perish. Thank you, caller, for that. All right, let's go. Caller ending in That's taking a while. Call it in at 9626. What's your name? Where you calling from? You got 1 minute. Do I have to go if the pastor says I do?
Larry, it's Tamika from Omaha, Nebraska.
Hey there, Tamika.
Hi. Okay, listen. There is a such thing as pastor worship, which is displaced and not supposed to be happening. This sounds like the case here. To even ask that question is just beyond me. The pastor is sick. No one needs to go to church, especially if the government has put a stay in place order in place. So that pastor is out of order. And my question is, who is his governing body? And what do they have to say about it? Because that is ridiculous. And that he would put that level of pressure on people by letting them know that he has this, but to keep it quiet. That in itself is manipulative and a lack of integrity. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I will have to agree with a great deal of what she said. That caller has really made it clear for me. It's almost like I'm a father. My children have not been out the house since February. And I'll go out, do what I have to do. When I get here, I spray down in alcohol and in Lysol. I go back and wash my car out. I tell them, don't you touch the bags. Let me spray it down first. Let me wipe this down. Come in, they Daddy. I can just be going. Depends on what mood they in. I can just be going like an hour till I come back. Daddy, no, don't come to me. Step back. I kiss you and hug you afterwards. That don't add up. That don't add up to me. Not a pastor's heart is like a parent's heart. Parenting and pastoring is very similar. And that may keep me up tonight thinking about that. What is that? What is that? All right. Next caller. Caller in it in 4240. What's your name? Where you're calling from? You have 1 minute. Do I have to go if the pastor says I do?
Hi, my name is Jasmine, and I'm first time calling from Iowa. My pastor has chosen not to have church and just to do it virtually. However, I feel like if he's positive and he's telling his members that they need to go, he's in the wrong. He's supposed to, first of all, submit to the government. Second of all, like she said, he's supposed to want to give his life for the sheep. You're supposed to want to keep your people safe. My faith is not at home. That's where I'm going to be. I love Jesus. I ain't trying to see him no time soon. You hear me? Not if I can prevent it. I'm going to be at the house. I'm going to go ahead and give you your little tithes through CashApp if you got it. And I'm going to go ahead and my faith going to feel not at the house. Okay? Because I'm not trying to go and see my brother Jesus. Not just yet. But that's just my 2 cents.
Thank you so much for calling in. Thank you so much, Blue Sky, for that super chat. And he says, or she says, I don't know who churches need to furlough all employees if needed, including pastors. All need to sign up for unemployment plus federal $600 a week bonus cash. Yeah, pastors too. And that's true. They're doing that now. Church boards visit SBA site and sign up for the forgivable loans now. Visit sba.gov like yesterday. Now, Patreons, you have those links. I put that in there for you on today. All right, let's take some more. Okay, caller, what's your name? Where you calling from? You have 1 minute. Do I have to go if the pastor says I do?
Hello?
Hi.
Hi, Larry. How are you?
I'm good.
My name is Denise. I'm so sorry. I always forget to unblock my number. I'm Denise calling from Cleveland, Ohio. Let me just give you a quick background of my background and everything. My dad was a pastor for 35 years. He went home to be with the Lord in 2002. I've been a church pianist for 47 years. And I've been in nursing 33 years. And of those 33 years, 13 of them, I'm currently a nurse practitioner. And I only say that to share with you God's goodness, not to brag on anything, but how people often mix faith and religion with the medical world and everything. The problem I have with these preachers or preachers saying this, if you're going to say this whole thing is not a lack of faith or a faith issue to me. Because if you're going to apply that, then tell your members don't take their insulin. Tell all your diabetics don't take their insulin. Have faith. Trust God. He'll bring your blood sugars down. Tell all your hypertensives don't take their blood pressure medications. Have faith. And these are the same preachers, when they get a sinus infection, they're going to take their antibiotics. When their tooth is infected, they're going to take their antibiotics. And this bothers me because this is borderline Jim Jones to me. When you telling people either you do this, you lack faith, this is almost brainwashing people. And for somebody to know that they've tested positive and still want people to gather together, this is the same person who will steal the money from the church, sleep with your little daughter, sleep with your little sons. If you're going to be dishonest with this, you'll be dishonest about anything. So people have to realize that this is not about a faith issue, about having faith or lack of. This is just common sense to me. Just like you would take your insulin, you better stay your behind in the house like they're trying to tell you. I don't get it. You're asking. We're in a society now where you can stream live, you can do Zoom, you can do everything if you still just really wanted to get the message out. This is why I know this is beyond more than getting the message out. This is people being selfish and really taking people's lives into their own hands, which is wrong. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you so much for contributing to the conversation. Your lens is important as a healthcare worker and also a pastor's daughter. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Caller ending in 3474. What's your name? Where you calling from? You have 1 minute. Do I have to go if the pastor says I do?
Hi, Larry. My name is Paula Collins. I'm calling from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And I don't believe that people should go because the pastor said they should come. I think people have gotten so out of order with placing their pastors and these leaders before God till they so lazy they'd rather hear from the pastor than do the work to hear from God. The work being prayer, meditation, spending time with God. So I believe that's why so many people are being bruised in this season, because it was always about the pastor or the man of God and not about the Godhead.
Wow, I hear that. Thank you so much for calling in. I hear that. She was straight to the point. All right, next caller. Caller ending in 9129. What's your name? Where you calling from? You have 1 minute. Do I have to go if the pastor says I do?
Absolutely not, Larry. This is Prophetess Marlon Everett of Wilson, North Carolina.
Okay.
About 30 minutes from your hometown.
Yeah, so
I thought I've inboxed you a couple of times. I'm a little concerned. Big sister, your other sister. That's what I call myself. But nevertheless, I see three things that are in play here. Like all the cause I've already said, that the pastors have lost their way because God is in control of all of this. If you go to Romans 13, 1 through 2, it says, obey the government, for God is the one who has put them there. There is no government anywhere that God has not placed in power. So those who refuse to obey the laws of the land are refusing to obey God, and punishment will follow. That's Romans 13, 1 through 3. For all my brothers and sisters who have the question, now who you serving and who you trying to please, God or man? And that's all I got to say. Love you. Keep up the good work.
Thank you so very much. Great contribution. She was reading Romans 13, 1 to maybe down to the 5th verse, to talk about be subject to the powers and authorities that be, for they are of God. All right, next caller. Caller ending in 9393. What's her name? Where you calling from? You got 1 minute. Do I have to go if the pastor says I do?
Hey, shalom, Larry Reid. This is JD Smooth from Tacoma, Washington. Do we have to go? I just have a few scriptures. I'm just going to give you what the Bible say concerning that. Acts chapter 5, verse 29. it says, and Peter answered this. Peter and the other apostles answered and said, we ought to obey God rather than men. Next, I'm going to 1 Corinthians chapter 6 and verse 19. It says, what? Know ye not that your body is the temple of the Holy Ghost, which is in you, which ye have of God, and ye are not your own. Next, I'm going to Matthew chapter 18, verse 20. And Christ says, for where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, I am in the midst of them. With that understanding, we now go to the book of Hebrews chapter 5, verse 12. And I'm almost done. Hebrews chapter 5, verse 12 says, For when the time ye ought to have been teachers, ye need that one teach you again, which be the first principles of the oracles of God, right? So they're not ready for strong milk. So with that understanding for the preachers, we go to the book of Malachi, right? Because everybody's looking for the preachers. Book of Malachi, chapter 2, verse 7 says, for the priest's lips should keep knowledge, and we should seek the law at his mouth, for he is the messenger of Christ. But since the preachers aren't keeping or teaching us the laws anymore, right? We go to Isaiah 56, 10 and 11. It says, his watchmen, his preachers, are blind. They are all ignorant. They are all dumb dogs. They cannot bark, sleeping, lying down, loving to slumber. Verse 11, yea, they are greedy dogs which can never have enough. They are shepherds that cannot understand. They all look to their own way, everyone for his gain. Why do they say they're shepherds that don't understand? Because in Psalms 111, verse 10, it says, for the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and a good understanding have all they that do his commandments. So according to that, we need to go to Deuteronomy, 2 more verses and I'm done. Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 12. It says, and now Israel, what does the Lord thy God require of thee, but to fear the Lord thy God, to walk in all his ways, to love him, to serve the Lord thy God, to walk with the Lord with all thy heart and with all thy soul, to keep his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day for thy good. Luke 1:13. The words of Christ says, I tell you nay, but at least ye repent, ye shall all likewise perish. We have to keep the faith of Christ and the commandments according to Revelation chapter 14, verse 12, which says, here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith in Christ. So because these shepherds don't keep the understanding of God according to Psalms 111 and 10, which is keeping the commandments of God, they don't show the love of God according to 1 John chapter 5, verse 3, for this is the love of God that we keep his commandments. Christ even said in 1 John, if ye love me, keep my commandments. And it also says, woe unto them which would cause one of my little ones to go astray. So therefore, if we're not keeping the commandments of God, how much more are we going to expect these people to keep the commandments of men? With that, I say, like in the beginning, Acts chapter 5:29, and Peter and the other apostles said, we ought to obey God rather than men. We are the church because according to Acts 7:48, it says, howbeit the Most High dwelleth not in temples that are made by hands. That's why our bodies are the living temple. You and I, Larry, right now, we're 2 or 3 gathered together in his name. We're having church right now, and the Most High is in the midst of us. Shalom, brother.
All right, man. He did that. He done it about 3 minutes. I said 1 minute. I said 1 minute. He done 3 minutes, but he was straight to the point. I mean, he basically saying, y'all ain't no man of God. Y'all some dumb dogs. Obey God rather than man. And somebody said, well, no, it's not God, it's science. Well, God is omniscient and omnipresent. Hallelujah. Omniscience means all science. Keep your hand at the house. Keep your hand at the house. You're supposed to be repeating.
That's a new song? I'm waiting to hear the new lyrics.
I was doing that's a call and response. Keep your hand at the house.
It's keep your hand at the house.
Oh, keep your hand at the house.
Keep your hand at the house.
There you go. This good, Nancy. Now I'm gonna try it one more time. Keep your hand at the house.
Keep your hand at the house.
Wait a minute. All right, next caller. Caller in at 9097. What's your name? Where you calling from? Got 1 minute. Do I have to go if the pastor says I do?
No, I don't, actually. I'm going to do what God says do. I'm just going to take the spiritual out just for a minute and inject some common sense, because common sense is necessary. I care more about my family and my own tribe at this moment than I do about anything else. Because anybody who would tell you to put yourself or your family in harm's way, I got a problem with. So I would just say, inject some common sense. If a fire is burning across the street, am I going to take my family or myself and throw them into the fire? I mean, it just makes common sense. But I would like to applaud every pastor out there who used their common sense to say, look, stay at home. Don't worry about the church at this moment. Don't worry about the lights at this moment. I mean, Jesus is the light of the world. Of course, he's going to keep the lights on at the church, but you need to be concerned about keeping the lights on at your house, keeping food in your family's mouth. That's the main concern, is your tribe. And so I want to applaud every pastor out there who said stay at home, because they have enough faith to believe that God's going to take care of his house. That's God's responsibility. Now they have to have enough faith to believe that God's going to take care of them. He's going to take care of the church, just like they preach. They say, hey, listen, have faith. Well, Pastor, you got to have faith too. Because right now it's about my family. It's about me and my family and my tribe. And so, I just want to say, use your common sense, man. It's just pure common sense. Take all of the spiritualness out of it and just use your common sense right now and live to see another day.
Thank you so much for calling in. And I hear that. That resonates with me. It's about, and I think any father going to feel like this. It's about me and my tribe and keeping my tribe safe. Every time I leave the house now, I'm like, God, I'm putting everybody at risk for trying to make sure they got food here and they okay. So that's why a single person leaving their house and coming back home, it's not like a single father or single parent leaving their house and coming back home. You're thinking about your children. I'm wiping down everything. I mean, and I'm careful, because the way this disease is working, they're saying the symptoms is a dry cough, body ache, a fever, and losing your taste. Well, there's some that are getting it and dying with none of those symptoms, no sneeze, no cough, just die. So they don't know this disease. And Anthony Fauci, and Burke, that we're all looking to, they're saying we don't know this disease. And once we get over our big curve, we're going to go into it again, because it is not only, it's cyclical, meaning that we feel as though it's going to come back this time next year again. And the next time we'll be more prepared. But this first time, millions may die, or hundreds of thousands may die. I'm worried about me and my tribe and getting close to God. Remember the two scriptures we talked about last night, Isaiah 26 and 20, I think it was, said, come my people, enter thou into my chamber, or something like that, and then shut the doors about thee, hide thyself. But for a little moment till the end of the nation be overpassed. So go into your house, sit your hand down, and wait till this here pass over. And speaking of Passover, it reminds us of the other scripture in Exodus, that when he said, okay, now the plague gonna come even amongst my people, the world and my people, Egypt and my people. Y'all take y'all hips, go in the inside, and you take the blood of that lamb. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you when I smite the land of Egypt. So we have the directive here. This isn't the time to be, in my opinion, trying to get everybody in that space of faith. I mean, it's a little too late for most. If that's where you are, then great. Like one of the callers said, take your hips out there to the hospital, you know. But there's so many different things you can do that can still meet the need of the people. I know the call log is filled, but I mean, it is filled. It's filled up. But I'll be coming on. Make sure you text Larry Live to 33222 so you know what's up, and become a part of the Patreon as well. We're going to be coming live through this quarantine. Don't miss nothing. If you're on YouTube, you missed the treat. Me and my daughter's on Facebook today. I may upload it tomorrow here on YouTube. So y'all are two different audiences. Hello, Periscope. Thank you so much for Facebook. I'll talk to you later. Remember, Jordan numbers on if you want to go over there. It's 24 hours and let them know. Oh, yeah. Every time we come live, I don't care if it's $2 or $3, hit that Cash App, hit LarryReidLive.com, donate button, or you can do Venmo, LarryReidLive, Google Wallet, LarryReidLive, or you can mail. I want to say thank you to Patricia Williams, Margaret. God, what's the other one? Bring it to me, Jesus. Bring it to me. Bring it to me. Patricia, Margaret, Linda. Thank you so much. I received what came in the mail. Thank you so very much. All right. What's that? Oh, yeah. The screenshot that. And anytime you feel like you're disconnected, run over there and get connected with God's folk. And let them know if they ask you when they open the line, how did you hear about it? Make sure you tell them, Larry Reid Live, there ain't no other place I want to be. Larry Reid Live, whoa, 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 hallelujah. All right, bye. There ain't nowhere else I wanna be. Whoa, 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 whoa.